Today is June 7th, 2022, and I'm at the East Coast Music Hall of Fame Gala in Atlantic City, and I'm sitting next to the legendary, and I mean legendary, lead singer of the Elegant, Vito Picone. I don't know whether he's a legendary singer or a legendary comedian. I've heard a lot of thoughts about your comedy.
When they say that, that's about my singing. That's what scares me. They think my singing is funny.
Are you surprised that you're still going strong at this age, this many years after Little Star?
I'll tell you what surprises me. I did a show in Florida, and there was a disc jockey out there, Al Brady, who was actually born in Staten Island, my hometown. And he said to me, do you realize that you are the only still active lead singer with a #1 record from the 50s?
Wow.
And we have tried every way possible to find out if that was not true, and it is absolutely true. And that scares the life out of me, but the fact is that's exactly what it is. Each category, of course, the #1 song, 50s, and it's still active. All of those things narrowed it down to where it comes down to only me. And there is nobody else, and that's really scary.
Little Star, how did it get started, and what were you doing? How old were you, and what brought the group together, and how did the song come about?
I had a group previous to the Elegance, a group called the Crescents. I was 14 years old. I wrote 2 songs in the study hall at Newdorf High School in Staten Island, and we actually went out and did some auditioning, and we won a contest. The contest was a record contract. We recorded on Club Records in 1956. The record was released, and our manager, owner of the record label, wound up somehow, he was murdered downtown New York, and everything just fell apart. We had no manager, we had no record company, we had nothing. The group broke up, and I continued singing, myself and Carmen Romano, one of the other fellas. We decided we wanted to continue, and we went back to the old neighborhood, and we started to look for some other people that we thought would be involved or would be interested in being involved. And we actually did that. We came up with Jimmy Michella, Artie Venosa, and Frankie Cardona, and the 5 of us then created the Elegance.
Who came up with the song Little Star?
Well, if you go to the Hall of Fame in Cleveland, you'll see there's an exhibit, a Little Star exhibit. And next to the exhibit is a direct quote from me. And it tells you the story of how that happened. We were rehearsing in one of the guy's girlfriend's house. And it started to get late. It was like almost midnight. And, they'd say, no, cut it out, guys. It's getting too noisy, too loud, blah, blah, blah. And we were tired. But we started goofing around. We were looking for a hook. We started a little Jack Horner, Mary Had a Little Lamb, everything we could think of. And then we had a Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And then myself and Artie Venosa, my first tenor, we looked at each other and said, this has got a little interesting, feel to it. Why don't we go meet each other tomorrow, sit down and see if we can write something, and we'll come back to rehearsal the next day. He met with me. 20 minutes we wrote Little Star. I took the words, I pretty much ad-libbed the melody, and then I created all the whoa-whoa-whoas and the melodic flowing, and we took the rat-tat-tats, we took that for 1,000 miles away, because the Heartbeats were complete idols.
One of my favorites.
Oh, they were our idols. And Shep, we wound up going through whole records. That's our first audition because they were there. And the woman, B. Caslin, that owned it, she fell in love with it, and she signed us right on the spot. We took the contracts home. Our parents, we were only 16, 17 years old. Our parents had lawyers take a look at everything, and before we knew it, the record was cut, released, and in the first week, did 80,000 copies in New York alone, New York City. And from there on in, it just shot right up to #1, and we were off and running.
Those days were tough days. I just finished reading the book by Tommy James, and it did some pretty amazing stuff in there, especially about Morris Levy. It was a tough time for you guys back then.
I had my situations with Morris myself. He had some strong backing, from some people that you don't want to deal with. But I wasn't born in Kansas. So, we banged heads a few times, and, you go see your uncle and have him talk to somebody, then talk to somebody. But the real issue was that that's the way it was. I mean, they ran everything. We didn't have the opportunities that the kids have today. They have so much leverage. We had to do what they said. You wrote the song, or they played the song, they gave you the song, and the arrangement was done by somebody. You sang it. You were stiff as a board, singing like this, and hope that it will come out right. But today, there's tools, there's ways. They can make the worst singer sound like Mario Alonso.
Exactly.
So we just really had to do it pure and simple. Matter of fact, that's the name of one of my CDs, Pure and Simple. As many acts right now are using tracks, and they're doubling up on the vocals. They have horns. You see three guys up there, and you hear a whole string section and all that. We're as raw as you can be. What you see is what you get. I got 4 vocalists. I got 4 musicians, and that's it. We're as close to the old days as you can get.
With all the millions of dollars you made off of Little Star, I mean, millions and millions of dollars, right? I mean, you made millions, right, off of Little Star? Did you make any money at all off of that?
I always say, I received an award. It was called the Millionaire's Award. And what it meant was that the song aired 1 million times on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean they gave us a check for $1 million. And I always say, I say, are we on cable or are we on the internet? I can get away with 1 or 2 words. But what I always say on stage too, I tell them, I said, they wanted to give me, a check for $1 million. I said, but I didn't want to take that. I said, just give me the award. But we got probably luckier than most because when we signed with Hull Records, they sublet us to ABC Paramount. ABC Paramount was a legitimate, label tied to movies and everything else. So we got a legitimate count going in. But once the year was over, we did about 1.5 million records. After we started to sell another 1 million, or maybe another 1 million with compilations and everything, that money started to go into bootlegging and everywhere else. And then there was no way you were going to get that money.
Well, your story is really a lot different than most of those entertainers. Tommy James never got a check from Morris Levy. All his money came from on the road. Morris kept all of it, and at one point they said, you owe us between $30 and $40 million. Yeah.
I'm going to see Tommy tomorrow. He's playing at the PNC Arts Center with Cousin Brucey. Yeah. I got an invitation to go there. But that's exactly right. Now the problem there with that situation was he definitely should have gotten his money somewhere along the line. My problem was that my manager believed in that theory. And we had a 19-year-old girl as a manager. Huh. And she believed, because somebody told her, there's more money on the road than there is with the records. Mm-hmm. So she took us out to California with Bobby Freeman's manager, and they just locked us into tours. We toured for about 3 months before we got back into the studio. Our second record should have been on the charts while the other one was coming down. They literally killed us.
Talk about the movies. You did Sopranos on TV. You did The Irishman and Goodfellas. Yeah, how'd you get into all that?
Well,
you weren't one of the guys, were you? Come on now.
Well, it's very difficult to say no because the whole neighborhood, somebody knew somebody who was somebody. No, but I wasn't in The Sopranos. I think that says that on Wikipedia or something. Little Star was in the pilot of The Sopranos, so the song was in The Sopranos. I was called to go do it, but my scenes all got cut out. So I am not in
The Sopranos. Okay.
I definitely am in Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
The most iconic scene of it all was, with Go Home and Get Your Shine Box.
Yeah.
And definitely I went back into The Irishman because Marty Scorsese asked me if I would teach De Niro and Pesci how to speak Sicilian. And that's what I did. And then he said to me, you're going to be on the set anyway. Let me give you a part. And he wrote in the manager of this, mob-run restaurant. And that was the second spot that I got with it.
Great movie, and the thing that surprised, that really made me happy, because I love the song, I love the man, was that they played in the Still of the Night 3 different times, at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. That was amazing.
He loved that song. He's a big doo-wop fan.
Really?
Matter of fact, in the middle of the movie, The Irishman, if he was talking to Harvey Keitel and Joe Pesci in the back of this restaurant that I was running. And as he finished explaining what he wanted, he started to walk out of the restaurant. He got halfway through the restaurant. He stopped. He tapped his face with his finger like this, like he was thinking of something. He turned around. I said, Vito, you got a minute? Come here. I said, he's going to cut another scene out. Now there goes that scene. Instead, he comes over and he starts tapping my chest. He said, Vito, what was the name of your second record? I said, please believe me. He said, that's it. I love the intricacies you did with your voice. He said, you know what? Let's take a 45-minute break. He said, come on with my trailer. We talked for 45 minutes about doo-wop music.
To find people like that, and you know what? this is a great organization. We're in a fourth or fifth year, but the second gala. And I think in order for this to succeed, somebody's going to have to step up with some money. I mean, these things cost money, and we got to find someone like that. Hopefully there's somebody out there that will keep this thing going, because it's just, the music will continue forever. I believe that, and we just need somebody.
I thought in the very beginning, I sat in the first board of directors meeting, or when they were looking for board members, and I had said, if you don't get people like a Bruce Springsteen, or you don't get people like Billy Joel, if you don't get those kind of people who should be more appreciative, I would think, of the music that actually laid the groundwork for them to be who they are, that's where it should come from. Even if they don't want to lay out any money, how about a free concert and let that money come to the organization? I mean, I go back many years ago with Joey D. When Joey D. we were on a road together, and Joey had an idea of opening up I wanted him to open a home, not a home, but it's more of a community, an adult community for people in the business that wanted to retire and didn't have families or didn't have money or whatever. And somebody donated the property. They donated property in Clearwater, Florida, and everything was going well. But then it came to the reality of how do we sustain this? And the only way to sustain it is by youth. The younger generation has to come up with these things to help you. You know what it's like. I mean, I've been doing this 65 years. The age limit alone is starting to decrease, and now your audiences are no longer 5,000 or 6,000 people. They're down to anywhere between 800 and 1,200 people. And with COVID, it brought it down even less than that. So the promoters are having problems. So we need the support of the people who can still generate the big dollars, and that's the real difference. If that happens, this thing would definitely go on forever.
When the British invasion came in and the doo-wop kind of died off, you stayed busy. You did some things, you promoted. Tell me what you did during those times.
Well, the first thing I did was I created a band called the Bo Jest and the Legions. And I grew a little Van Dyke like Bo Jest, and I had Legionnaire outfits on. And I just like the Young Rascals had their Lord Fauntleroy outfits. Paul Revere and the Raiders had their hook, So I came up with that idea, and we worked pretty much through the 60s with that, all over the Midwest and down south, and that kept me active for a long time. And then I also, at one point, I decided I was going to be a booking agent, and I opened an agency on Broadway. I was there for 25 years. I had an agency called Headline Talent. I literally booked everybody that has been in this industry.
Did you do a rep right on the Del Rons?
Yeah. It says somewhere that I managed them, which is not true. They were signed to my agency as an artist, and I did get them booking. But just like Tony said before, Tony Dano, when he received his award, he thanked me for being booking agent and helped him, and I got him involved with the classics the first time. I got him the audition, and then from there on, he's created a whole life for himself. But it was my agency that kept this pretty much alive for quite a long time.
Yeah. You did a lot of work too for your community in Staten Island.
Oh yeah, I actually had to stay away from Staten Island for a while. It was just wearing me out. Yeah. I was the chairman of the board of the American Cancer Society for 2 terms. I was the president of my Rotary Club. I was the treasurer of the Meals on Wheels. I was also a treasurer for the Council on the Arts. I chaired the Richmond Town County Fair. And after a while, it just burns you out. And I love doing it, but not only it wore you out financially too, because every time you went and do something, you wrote a check from the organization, and then when you had to recuperate or when you had to reciprocate, it came out of your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
It just got to be very expensive and very tiring.
I've gotten to know Ron Mastrangelo very well over the last few years, and obviously he's Johnny Meister's brother.
Right.
And we talk a lot about how we can get Johnny into the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I doubt if it'll ever happen, but what are your thoughts on the way they snubbed everybody? I think it should be called the Music Hall of Fame. Drop Rock and Roll out.
I just did an interview with an old friend of mine's got a show called Profiles.
Oh, yeah.
They got the award today. And Mickey's a friend of mine. I think I did either first or second. I forgot it was me or Benny King did the first one or the second one of his 20-year career with the show. And I just went back and did another one last week. And the question came up, and I honestly, in all truth, Johnny and I know each other since we're 13 years old.
Wow.
I mean, not only did we grow up together to a certain degree, we both had our own groups at the time, and his family moved in the next town over from me. They were coming only for the summer in Staten Island, and until they moved in permanently. And he would hang out on the boardwalk, myself and Bobby Darren, whose family had a bungalow not too far from us. And we knew each other from the neighborhood. I love him. Probably one of the best singers that ever came from our generation. Great guy, very quiet, very reserved. Everybody thought he was conceited, but he was just a very, very introverted individual. I absolutely adored him as a person and adored him as a peer. He was just that good. But in all honesty, it will never happen. Yeah. And the reason it's not going to happen is twofold. First of all, they've already bypassed everybody in our area. The second of all, if you see who they did not put in yet, he's like about 15th or 20th down the ladder. You don't have Neil Sedaka. You don't have Connie Francis in there. You don't have Chubby Checker in there. You don't have Joey D in there. You don't have people who had national hits and had a series of hits. So even though you had hits with the Crests, most were locals, not regional. I mean regional, not national. And the real problem was that's what they're looking at. If they really take a serious look at that, I don't believe it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. What would your life be like if you were 16 years old, you were recording the Elegance in today's society with social media and all those things? What do you think it would be like?
First of all, I don't think I would be smart enough to be able to compete with these kids. I mean, you could see a 5-year-old kid. He'll fix my tablet. If I have something wrong with it, he comes in, and he's fixing the whole thing. These kids have their own recording studios in their little bedroom somewhere. You go into projects. These kids have a recording studio in their closet that can beat or compete with any major studio there is. So they don't need auditions. They don't need equipment. They don't need anything. They just need the time and the brain to do something musically. And now they've got themselves a record or a CD, and then they go out and peddle it, and then they start to get activity. And once you get activity, a major label or an independent label would jump on top of it. And they didn't spend 10 cents, so they love that too. They let you do all the work. You pay for everything. And then they come along and say, okay, well, now we'll distribute it. And they got the power to do it.
And you can download things now. There's apps in there where you put out a new album, you can download a whole album for nothing. So you're going to lose in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing I do notice, and I'm a little happy about, a few years back there was an organization that created by the government called Sound Exchange. And for any of my peers out there that don't know of Sound Exchange, for years they only paid the royalties to the writers. Now with this new rule, with this new corporation, this new company, Sound Exchange now pays the entertainers, the singers, for their time. And every time the song has been played or anything like that, or sold, whatever they can do, they actually come up with that money for those people. And so now not only do I have checks as a writer coming in, but I have checks coming in as an entertainer, as a singer. And 65 years later, it comes in if it's a couple of $1,000, or if you had a couple of major hits, it could be $10,000, $20,000.
Yeah.
So
it's about time.
And these people don't really realize that. A lot of people don't know anything about that. But they do a little research, and they go check with Sound Exchange, see if they got money coming to them. It's more, even if it's a little amount, it's accumulated now for like 40 years, 50 years. You might get a big check out of it.
Yeah, that's nice. Vito Picone, I really do appreciate you taking some time here at the East Coast Music Hall of Fame, and good luck with your career. And one of these days, I look forward to, you're one of the groups I've never seen, and I've been to shows. I've probably been to 100 shows in the last 12 years.
I want to tell you something that I don't know if I should tell you on the air to misunderstand what I'm saying. Years ago, we did Radio City, and a busload of people would come from
New England,
Connecticut. Out of all the acts that went outside to say hello, they came and asked everybody, could we come by the bus and everything? We went out there every time. Got on the bus, shook hands, kissed baby, passed out cigars. We did everything there was, and we did it from our hearts. We really appreciated it. That organization has had God knows how many shows they've had out there.
Oh, yeah.
We have not been on one ever.
Yeah.
And it amazes me. I keep wanting to get in touch with Gary or somebody and say,
Bob, yeah.
what's the, is there a reason? I don't know what it is, Well, and maybe just an oversight. Maybe
Yeah.
But I mean, we go back to the old Babalu days when Bobby Lewis was the DJ and played all our material, and in that area, at least 5 of our songs were in the top 10. So we did carry a little weight in the New England area. But I was meaning to ask. As a matter of fact, you see them and talk to them.
Yeah, I talk to them all the time. Bob's a very good friend. I think both of them are, really.
I mean, I would really ask them if there is a situation. If there is, I would love to sit down and take care of it, make it go away.
I'm sure they'll call you. As a matter of fact, I can promise you they'll call you. How's that, all right? Vito, good to see you, really. Good luck to you.
Thank you, and thanks for doing the newsletter. It always keeps everybody alive and watching what's going on, what's happening with us. So you're a good conduit, and I love it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, buddy.